This week in Adventist history, we look back at one of our key figures in the early publishing work, the man most responsible for our pioneer publications that wasn't named James White. Yet although our mystery man may be a well-known figure, it's worth revisiting his story. Sadly, on March 6, 1903, the Adventist Church lost its most prominent figures, the indelible Uriah Smith, who died in Battle Creek, Michigan at age 70. His work will forever be imprinted, quite literally, as a longtime editor of the Review and Herald and the author of some of our most important books, such as Daniel and the Revelation, which has been reprinted numerous times. Overall, he dedicated over 50 years of his life to the service of the Seventh-day Adventist cause. Born in West Wilton, New Hampshire, Uriah was impressed in childhood by the Advent movement of 1843-44. In adolescence, he suffered a traumatic event when, about 13 years of age, because of an infection, he lost his left leg and it had to be amputated above the knee, which may have taken away some of his outdoor ambitions that he may have had, but he turned this loss into a gain for his passion for reading and writing. About the end of 1852, he became a Sabbath-keeping Adventist, and he married Harriet Newell Stevens a few years later in 1857. Smith's first contribution to Adventist literature was a 35,000-word poem entitled The Warning Voice of Time and Prophecy, which he hoped pointed out the narrow path that bright and brighter shines into the perfect day. It was being published as a serial in the Advent Review and Sabbath Herald in 1853, beginning with Volume 3, Number 22, when Uriah joined his sister Annie as a worker at the office of the Review and Herald in Rochester, New York. In 1855, the press moved to Battle Creek, Michigan, and that same year, when Smith was just 23 years of age, his name appeared as editor for the first time. In his first issue as editor, he wrote, "I do not enter upon this position for ease, comfort, or worldly profit, for I have seen by my connection with the Review thus far that neither of these is to be found here. But there are burdens to be borne, there are sacrifices to be made, and it becomes us each, in the light of present truth, willingly and cheerfully to do what we can in the cause of God." Throughout his time with the press, it should be noted the technology was not as efficient nor as painless as what we have today. For example, in helping prepare the early tracts, he found himself using a straight edge and a pocket knife to trim the edges of the paper. In doing so, he shared that we blistered our hands in the operation, and often the tracts and form were not half so true and square as the doctrines they taught. He maintained an almost unbroken connection with the press until the time of his death in 1903. You can read more about his life in the biography written about him by Gary Land, published in 2014. And that was This Week in Adventist History.